Every morning I don't know what knife to choose, so I just line them up all over my desk. It doesn't matter because generally I'll need them only incidentally at best. Don't you understand? It leaves a knife guy vexed. But once again I choose the Neutron and it makes me feel happy like I've passed the test. The big knives make me happy when I'm feeling kinda crappy, but they squeezed in kinda close with my dick. I think that when I use them, people think that I have a small dick. That's right, I rhymed dick with dick.
TRM Neutron, the smaller version of the TRM Atom. Made in America. 20 CV steel. My Carter handled 3D machined. I chose the candy cane color.
When the company that makes your favorite knife, the TRM Atom, my favorite knife, sends you an email and says, would you like a Neutron? I don't usually do this. Sound like the guy who's just about to put his dress on for the 15th time and go and hang out at the docks looking for sailors. Why does the dress fit? Why was it ready to go? I know, but you don't say no. Well, I didn't in this instance. So I'm sorry, these are hard knives to get and it sucks, and the influencers getting the free shit fatigue is real. But I really don't do it that often, really. But I had to say yes, and I'm not easy to contact. I don't encourage this. People have to ask friends of mine for my contact details because I don't overcommit to the community. I just don't want to take everyone's stuff because then you have to make videos on the things, and I only review knives that I organically come across. I don't review your favorite knife. I don't review a knife that the company wants me to review. I review the knives that I like. And so it was just fortuitous that here we are. Now there is a Neutron, the sequel to the Atom, and I think much improved. Well, you know, can you improve on perfection? Well, it's not perfect, but it's a boon. It's a boon to the Atom line for sure. It's wonderful, and I guess I feel like the Nick. Just remember that they probably sent me the best quality controlled one. Well, I don't think he has a speech impediment. I think he just has a high voice. But yeah, just be aware. Be aware. This one was sent to me by the company. They know I'm going to make a video on it. Take it for what it is. But this is a great way of seeing the Neutron in the flesh. Just ignore my words and look at the pretty pictures. If you're interested in one of these knives, I'll cover all the things that I like about it. And I don't really not like anything about it. So there you go. Is this awkward enough for you? Did you want me to talk about wearing the dress and the sailors again? So did you know that about 3 months ago, I was in a fair lull with this hobby. There was so much coming through, I just couldn't quite zone in. I couldn't quite stop and look at anything. There's just 15 new knives every day from micro brands, and there's hipster knives, and there's all this going on. There's so much noise, and then there's just, I don't know, I couldn't quite track anything in particular. So I had some money spare last month, and I was like, well, I'm gonna buy a knife and see if this is for real, or see if I'm done. Am I done? And so I went back to what I know. I was like, well, I like Benchmade knives. I generally do. Like two of my favorite knives in my collection at the moment are Benchmade knives, and my all-time favorite looking knife is a Benchmade knife, and that's the Benchmade 940. So I was actually looking at 940s, and I saw this one. It's the 945. It's the smaller 940, and this was my be-all and end-all knife for a long time. So in a way, it's like I've got my past in one hand, and now I've got my kind of present in the other hand, and it's helped. So I used to lust after these knives. I used to watch Wrangler Star, I remember this video where he got who's that? The Apostle P got his knife sharpened by him and all that stuff. It was like a moment in time in knife YouTube for me. And then, you know, I did my rounds. I think about 3 different 940s. I kind of moved on from them a bit. Always loved the looks, but then I moved into all this edge stuff, this steel stuff, and this edge retention, slicing and geometry, and all that kind of cool stuff. And what better knife for that was the TRM Atom, like a thin knife made of 20 CV steel, ground impeccably well. Just a complete race car of a performing knife. So now I've kind of got the smaller, even more improved version of that in my hand today. So yeah, I'll occasionally speak about the 945 in this film, but I'll mainly be looking at the Neutron. So what are we going to talk about first? So this, of course, is the Neutron. The Neutron is about $190 US. You can go more or I can go a little bit less, depending on what scales you have with it. Yeah, that's a pretty fair price, I think, for an American-made knife. And then this is the Atom. It's bigger brother. The Atom's kind of like the paramilitary 2-sized version of this, compared to if this was like your Delica or a Para 3-sized TRM. And that's the Spidey Chef. The Spidey Chef used to be my favorite before I was exposed to the world of TRM knives and their slicey goodness. But the Spidey Chef is still a wonderful knife. I think it's still pretty attainable. They've had shortages, but yeah, it's a great production knife from Spyderco, maybe their best. This is a 945 that I was speaking of earlier. It's a little small on the handle, a little small, but overall, I think the compactness of it makes it a real winner, and I like it a lot. This is a Delica. Delicas are used by us reviewers because most folks have had a Delica or still have a Delica around. I don't think I'd ever really carry a Delica anymore. I don't know, a bit boring maybe. That's the We Knife Co. Banter. It's a good knife. It's probably my favorite We knife. It's small, compact, kind of unique looking, and it's unique looking in kind of how dull it looks or how mundane it looks, which kind of, because everyone else is always trying to do fancy shit, looks kind of cool. And this is the biggest knife that I have that folds. This is the Half-Breed Blades Large Bush Folder. It is very large. You'll see when I put the diminutive Neutron next to it, how large it actually is. And look at them spines. Oh yeah, that's the difference right there. Spring is here. Let's do this in the garden. It's a little windy. So when I think of what the best things are about the TRM, Neutron and Atom, it's going to be, first of all, is the blade. The blade is possibly the best out of the box slicer you can get in a pocket knife. That's in my experience anyway. Obviously I haven't had every single knife, but as these knives come, they're just ready to cut thinly. Obviously, being full flat grinds, or mostly flat grinds, they don't have that hollowness that sometimes does help against certain sticky materials. That's something that you might also want to have a hollow ground EDC knife for if you do bring your knife up against things like cheese. Cheese isn't the most fun thing to cut, but everything else is a complete dream when your knife is this thin and this sharp, made of such an excellent steel. This is about as good as you can get, especially for under 200 US dollary dues. The new G10 and micarta handles on the Neutrons come 3D machined. This is candy cane micarta. The dimension that it adds is noticeable, but you need to have had a flat scaled
Neutron or Atom to really be able to appreciate the difference. Luckily I do, so I can, and it is more comfortable in knife, which is great when the knife becomes a little smaller as well. A smaller knife handle, the more it can contour into the hand, the better. And it's nicer. It's like a 15% improvement. Like, it's not groundbreaking, but you can notice it. And it is a pleasant feeling. I love the feeling of micarta. Micarta is probably my favorite handle material. And this guy can be used for pretty long stretches of time without being uncomfortable. I mean, all pocket knives have a channel down the middle, and all pocket knives, no pocket knife is going to handle as well as a nice small fixed blade or something like that. But when you fold it up and stick it in your pocket, I guess that's the other bonus of it being a pocket knife. You can't do that with a fixed blade. So this guy has a really good pocket clip as well. The TRM pocket clip is a deep carry with a nice ramp on it that grabs your pocket just enough without tearing it apart or without being hard to pull out, even with the slightly textured micarta grips. So all good on the pocket clip front as well. When I think of how this knife is compared to the 945, the blades are completely different. So the blade of the 945 is probably more robust. It's got more material in it and behind the edge and all that sort of thing. And the steel is not going to last as long as it is going to in a TRM Neutron, or Atom for that matter. The S30V from Benchmade has always been well heat treated in my experience, but the 20CV steel is a notable upgrade, a noticeable upgrade as well over S30V, and I think you would notice it in your everyday carry use. I started using these knives at about the same time with their factory edges, and the TRM Neutron is still sharp and the Benchmade is not. So, and neither of them went dull very quickly. Like, the Benchmade didn't go dull super quick. The TRM's lost its crazy slicing sharpness, but certainly isn't dull yet. Whereas the Benchmade is, for lack of a better word, a bit dull by now. So you do notice a difference between steels. Especially if you're cutting up lots of cardboard boxes like I've been lately. We installed a giant playground which came with a lot of cardboard packaging. So these two knives did most of that. Other stuff I carry my EDC knives for that they generally get used for is a lot of incidental food prep. Even in the kitchen, sometimes it is just easy to open the packet of sausages with the EDC knife rather than going to the knife drawer, pulling out a big chef's knife, cutting the plastic, and then what do you do with it? You have to put it through the dishwasher just because you cut it once. I don't know, I always find myself using my EDC knife for that stuff the most, and everything else is just opening packages and all that good stuff. And most of all, just the enjoyment of carrying an EDC knife. And this one really does have a lot of that as well. It's got good action. I think it's a good looking knife. These are, most knives are a matter of taste, but I think these are pretty nice looking. I think the Benchmade looks a bit better. The Benchmade also has the benefit of an axis lock, which is probably the most fun lock. However, the simpler liner lock of the TRM may have longer endurance than the axis locks, which people often complain about the springs in the axis lock. Never had a problem myself, but can't do a video about the axis lock without someone bringing it up, so it must be a thing. So the two knives between them, well, the 945 is slightly cheaper. It's going to be about 170-ish, I believe, maybe 160-ish US dollars, depending on your retailer. The TRM is going to be about, let's just say, $200. The problem with the TRMs is that they have a huge demand, probably due to people like me making videos of them and telling you about how good they are, but they have a demand, so there is a wait list. So you need to sort of play that game where you become an enthusiast for even getting one at first, which sucks. And I speak from a place of complete privilege in that I haven't had to do that. So if that is a thing for you guys, then I completely understand. The only other thing I can suggest you do is make 1,000 YouTube videos over 7 years, and maybe every now and then your favorite company will send you a knife. But then again, that's probably not going to take much quicker than playing the waiting list game. So don't know. That's really, my sense of rationality and reality here is probably a little bit warped. But there you go.
One of those days I'm having real trouble finding somewhere to film that's not either too windy or, I don't know, just not working out for me. So in terms of the more standard stuff that you might want to know, the fit and finish on this model was absolutely fine, not a problem at all. The The Torx pivot has remained rock solid. In my Atom, the Torx pivot sort of wiggled its way through and I needed to Loctite it myself. I assume they're Loctiting them themselves now. Speaking of which, it's a T10 to take the Torx out and it's T6, the Torx at the pivot out, and T6 is to take the rest of the scale screws out. So there you go. If you are interested in disassembly, I disassembled my TRM Atom to change the scale, so it's about the same kettle of fish. Look, overall, I think this is, for a $200 knife from TRM, I'm going to say something controversial here. I think TRM are just as good as Chris Reeve knives.
I can't believe you've done this.
I know. In terms of knives that I enjoy, I've enjoyed my TRMs more than I've enjoyed any of my Sebenzas, my Inkosis, anything like that I've had in my past. So yeah, and for that to be under $200 US for this, it's in a great steel. It's in a better steel than you get in a Sebenza. Even now, still, I'd probably put 20 CV over S45 VN. Anyway, not going to draw that comparison because Sebenzas are still great, I'm sure. And they are a bit of a sacred calf and you can't say too much about them because people shit their pants. But they're fine. But these are like more and they are about half the price really as well. The materials aren't, they're not cutting any costs. The great steel, contoured micarta, deep carry clips, standoffs. There's a lot right going on here. It doesn't feel like, I guess, as much as perhaps a legacy knife as the Sebenza is, but that's a legacy knife because people fucking bang on about it so much anyway. So yeah, for these to be this price, it's still a luxury good. Obviously, if you're just after a pocket knife that's going to work, go and get yourself a Spyderco Endura, go and get yourself a Cold Steel American Lawman. There's all those other knives out there at the lower price points that do great. At $100, at $50, plenty of good ones. Luxury goods for sure. Every knife over $100 is a luxury good. Come on. So for that, I think the price is about fair. Considering that it's only about $25 more than the Benchmade 945, which is about the same size, slightly poorer steel, and is made in a slightly more mass production kind of way as well. It's interesting. I think the price is about right. So overall, I don't know. I can't tell yet if I like it more than the Atom, but if it's not my favorite knife, it's my second favorite. And yeah, it's hard because I didn't buy it myself. I got it sent to me. It's really awkward saying that. But if I had bought it, I would be really happy with it. It's such a shit thing to... It throws me out. I'm sure I've gone on about... What do you think, Bricky?
I think you YouTube knife reviewing wankers would sell pictures of your buttholes on OnlyFans. If the community was interested in generic, shapeless men, enough to pay for them.
Not that there would be anything wrong with that, but yikes. I think I remember why I've not come down here as much lately.
The truth hurts. And I am a calcium deposit of truth in the kidneys of this ridiculous channel.